to almost err on the side of the person versus an airline when I hear stories like this. So the headline on this, and then it gets a little murkier as you read the story, was booted off a flight for showing too much cleavage. Okay. And this was a Spirit Airlines flight from like New Orleans to Florida. And I guess this woman who's a waitress, and they showed a picture of what she was wearing. And okay, yeah, she's got a really nice rack, and you could, it was tight and whatever. But I didn't think it was by any means obscene. And the Spirit Airlines is defending their decision to remove her, saying, well, she was intoxicated. But another passenger came forward and said they treated her horribly. Like, I saw it. It was really bad. And their contention is that they wanted to get two people off because this other person got kicked off too, to make room for flight attendants that were deadheading to get her off the plane. And Spirit Airlines has not made a comment on this particular thing, but the picture's like...
So in other words, they were looking for likely targets. Mm-hmm. There's a shot. I have a difficult... first it's the boobs, then it's the drinking, and then someone else comes to the defense, and it just seems as though there's no way of proving a negative here. I mean, if there's enough folks, I suppose, that could go through there, but it's very frustrating.
Well, there's video phones have made a lot of strides in this particular area. Mm-hmm. There was an incident a week or two ago about a woman that really threw a fit because she disagreed politically with someone sitting next to her and wanted to have him moved, and she ended up getting thrown from the plane. Did you see that? Mm-mm. It was very shocking to see. And there was all you could see, and this cracked me up. This whole thing was not funny, by the way, but there's video phones sticking up everywhere. So everybody caught this. Okay. Mm-hmm. But this woman, what was weird is she sat down on the plane. They were leaving Baltimore, and she said to the guy, well, are you here to protest or celebrate? And he said, well, I just came to celebrate democracy. It was after the inauguration. And she laid into him, and the whole thing's on video. And she goes to the flight attendant, I want him moved. I don't want him sitting next to me. And she's like, guess what? You don't get to choose. And then she's like abusing this. And this kid never said a single thing other than, I just came to celebrate democracy. And he was very mild mannered. So this woman is so caught, and they took her off the plane. I mean, like off. And she was throwing an absolute fit. But all these other times I'm like, people, get your phones out. Because that can tell you right away
what's going on.
And otherwise, I think that this could have been, but it's all over the internet, and it's not funny, and I felt bad for everybody involved, but especially the woman's husband who also got kicked off the flight.
No, I spent most of last week with really, like I said, really horrible strep that I did not know that I had, and then the antibiotics didn't work, and now I got a shot in the ass, and not the good type, and I'm like, I have not had antibiotic shots since I was like 8 or 9, 10.
Did those work?
They worked back then, and then you learned how to, take big ass pills for 10 days. They could, know that you were going to take them, but it didn't work. And I'm like, oh my God, did you know? I mean, I just was fascinated that you could have strep without a sore throat. Still don't have one. I mean,
that's frightening.
And it just, it's been quite the interesting couple of weeks, but now all better. Finally really found the medic. Yay, science. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's your PSA for the week. You can have strep without throat problems.
Yeah, I had no idea.
That is strange. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about this before, and I wish I could remember. I need to have our GNS dictionary here so that I can remember what this is called. But it's ghost sex.
Oh, that's right.
There's
a word. One of the fetishes. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a British reality show playing right now, and it's called The Jump. And they said, think about it as sort of ski jumping with the stars. Okay. So there's two. There's a gal and a guy. What?
I wonder. It made me think of Louis Anderson doing the diving with the stars thing.
Oh God. Okay.
Oh, he was such a trooper. It was spectacular. Actually, it probably got him his role and a whole bunch of other things that he just got his Emmy for.
Sure.
But, I've seen bits and pieces of that show. That's spectacular.
I love him. He's hysterical. Have you ever met him?
No.
He's a riot. Mm-hmm. He is so much fun in person. So these two people that are competing on this show over there said, hey, look, we're in this hotel, and this one female says, look, a ghost came and had sex with me. And it's being confirmed by another guy. They've both asked to change their rooms, but now this has made it into the context of the show, and they're all swearing to God that this is absolutely true.
I know there are, I know people who who go on, that very, very much believe in this and have been involved in shows and do all that. But my brain can't go there. I don't understand it. I mean, I'm like, to each their own. I mean, they're not hurting anyone.
Who, the ghosts or the
ghosts, anyone, if you believe in ghosts, I mean, I suppose, unless of course you're, someplace where you shouldn't be searching for one and you get injured then or injure somebody else. But really, sex with a ghost. Oh my God, that sounds like a spectacular way. Because once again, you can't prove a negative and it makes for a good segment on the show.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, everybody's had, I think, or most people have had orgasm dreams. Like, couldn't you misinterpret that?
Yeah, you wake up going, why did that dream have to, that was awesome.
Like, how do we go there again?
I want to go back to that dream. That was great.
Yeah. So, but it's making its way back into the news. And if you'll notice that the one we were talking about last year was Bobby Brown. He was claiming absolutely, and he said on 2020, I was not tripping. I swear to God, a ghost came in and had sex on me. Yep. So this is making its way through the celebrity, whatever. Yeah. Speaking of celebrities, do you remember the whole sensation, the Pussycat Dolls? Remember that whole thing?
Oh, that was
the show, and it was in Vegas.
It was a Vegas show, and it was sort of a knockoff of the Spice Girls, or was it more raw? But it was a casted show, right?
Oh yeah, long running, big money making deal. Okay. And one of the former Pussycat Dolls, Melody Thornton, has now joined another reality show called Celebs Go Dating, and it's another British show. And she said, look, I haven't had a boyfriend since I was a kid. And she says, I'm just trying to find a way to get regular sex. And she said that during the time that she was on the show run for 7 years, she was part of it. And she said, other cast members had dates, but she said, I was focusing on my career because it's really hard to do what we were doing, I thought, and have a life outside of it. She said, I just personally couldn't make it work. Well, now I'm in this drought.
Yeah, if you're doing like probably 8 shows a week or more shows than that, and at the hours where other people are not working. Yeah, I can see that would be very tough.
So she says she wants to hook up, and she's looking for love, and if not love, just at least regular sex.
Isn't that what Tinder's for?
Well, and she says...
But then again, you don't get paid to be on Tinder, so you get to be on the show.
Or the publicity. Yeah.
It's just, are reality shows the LinkedIn for stars? Is that how that works?
Apparently. Or the Tinder for stars.
Tinder for stars.
Something like that. So I thought this was interesting. The term cougar really has always offended me. I mean, and probably because when I split up with my ex-husband when I was 42, he was like, "Oh, you're a cougar." And I'm like, shut up. You don't know what I am. It really bothered me. I just don't like that whole thing that...
Well, the deal where, that it's reversed. Because, nobody gives a crap about an older guy and a younger woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hypocrisy of that is, amazing just to be, that there's a term for it.
Yeah. I hated that label, didn't appreciate it, and all of that. But there's a study done, and this was out of Finland, and long story short, the gist of it is that most women like guys that are actually slightly older. The cougar thing is a myth, according to this study, saying occasionally they will have a foray with a younger guy, but it's usually no more than 8 years younger. That's about the sweet spot. Any more than that, and women get uncomfortable. And really any less than that, they kind of consider them to be almost their same age. So they went through and they... 1,789 women, and they also added 878 adult men because they wanted to look at age preferences. They did determine that most men did like women in their 20s. Surprise, surprise. Like, that's any big revelation. But women of all ages actually prefer slightly older sexual partners. Surprised by that?
Well, we've been socialized for millennia that, to get some, that there's certain roles. I would be curious to see if they did the study in 200 years, it would be the same thing.
Yeah,
there's still an awful lot of standard roles that are ingrained in our brains.
Yeah,
centuries, stuff like that. Because I sort of saw someone that was 10 years younger than me for a short amount of time, but more like friends. Eons ago and stuff like that. But we knew, it wasn't going to go anywhere because we're all, we're completely different spots in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I have a friend right now that I thought this was humorous. She's 47 and he's like 30 5. And, she told him from the very get-go, this will not be a boyfriend-girlfriend situation. But he's like, okay, that's fine. We can just hang out. And she said, Friday nights are pretty much all I have. And she put very strict limits on it. Well, sure enough, after about 5 months, he started getting his feelings hurt over things that he had been told. And she allowed him this cracked me up. She said, I'm having a New Year's Eve party. If you don't want to come, I understand, but whatever. And she said, I think he's going to self-select and not come. She called it self-selecting for opting out. And I said, you know what? And she goes, and she asked me what I thought I should do. And I said, be glad. If that's just it, just let it drop. Because I don't think anybody can ever go into a situation like that and say, sure, I promise I won't change my feelings. I will follow the rules. That's just not what humans do.
No.
We don't.
Yeah. You're, if something is, if there's a part of it that's going well, you want more of that. Mm-hmm. It's going through there.
Yeah.
And, and then sometimes, even though you glom onto the good part and forget about the other crap.
Yeah.
And which is, you need to take a look at a lot of other stuff going on.
Yep.
I mean, but if folks could do that, there wouldn't be like 75 advice columns out there.
Yeah. But I mean, I just think anytime where you are forced, and you could even take this all the way up to prenuptial agreements if you wanted to, but anytime somebody says, look, these are the rules of this relationship, I always call bullshit and move on, because you never know what's going to happen. And I just refuse to agree to anything. I mean, I would maybe, you know what I mean? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I could see something that, if you've got a lot of family financial stuff, you need to sort that out.
Yeah.
But, if you're talking about kids or how many times you're going to have sex or where you're going on vacation or what you're going to do, you don't know these things.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, do, but you can't, but if the other person thinks that, the other person might change their mind, you can't. No.
Yeah.
I mean, people are allowed to change their mind, but it's not guaranteed.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll confess to one thing. In my 30 whole days on Match.com, right after I split from my husband, and actually that's how I met my current partner, who we've been together 7.5 years already now. But I did go on a few dates with a guy who was way too young. And the only reason I ended up going, I can't believe I'm going to admit this. The only reason why I ever ended up meeting him in person was because I didn't realize that Match had a chat feature. I didn't even know, because I didn't explore the entire thing. So I'm sitting there just kind of reading through stuff and looking at things and whatever. And this chat pops up from him. Mm-hmm. And he was so freaking funny. I'm like, no, I told you, it's very clear in my profile. You're too young. No. And then he just kept, and he was so funny. So then I met him for a drink and I really liked him. Mm-hmm. And I actually helped him. You're going to laugh. I shot his video for submission to The Bachelor for him and edited it for him. And I'm like, yeah, this is no problem. And he's like, well, you don't mind doing this? I'm like, no, because I'm not going to date you. So I'll be happy to help you. Yeah. I don't have anything else going on right now. Sure. Isn't that funny?
Oh, I bet it was adorable.
It was, and he was.
Yeah.
But that was that. Mm-hmm. And then of course, when I started dating and my profile came down, I did get a text. He's like, well, who's the new man? And I'm like, age appropriate. Thank you for asking. Okay. Yes. I'm done. Just another quick thing from this particular study. I thought this was really interesting. They said that this particular study, looking at the women and men and the age things, that men kind of did have a ceiling on how much younger, or a floor rather. Mm-hmm. The women, 16 years. Anything outside of 16 years, men started to feel uncomfortable. So
is it really that? I mean, that's a lot. But
it is a lot. But when you
then again, millennia of socialization here,
yeah,
the little guys are still working. They're trying to find those eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. But 16 was the maximum, which actually I would have thought it would have been more. And here was the other thing. The study also revealed that homosexual and bisexual men and women differ very little from their heterosexual counterparts. So they wanted to see if there would be any difference, and it really came out to be pretty much the same. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm
just thinking about that. Just God, like I said, I'll be curious to see what it's like in 200 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of an interesting one. Okay, we talked about this before, and
okay, what do we got?
Okay, sex and memory again. Mm-hmm. Sex and memory. I just got to find it. Once again, this one
I really like the fact that you're having a hard time remembering where you put something.
I know, I'm having to scroll through the piles. Well, I've gotten paperless for the show, so I have to scroll and okay. So yeah,